Hey guys, and welcome to Tesla Red and EV News Weekly. This is episode 14, 22nd of September 2024. Sorry, it was a little bit late. I actually hit go live and it didn't actually hit. I was talking to myself for about 5 minutes and just realised. So I'll go through it all again. So as always, I've got the link there for the StreamYard if anyone wants to join in on the chat. If you don't want to use video, you can use just audio. And particularly if you've got any sort of EV-related content out there, I'd love to help promote your channels, whether it's YouTube or X or wherever else. Or if you just want to have a chat, happy to have you on and talk about what's going on in EV world. Hey, Kev, good to see you there. The other link I've got on the chat there is the battery study I talked about last week. We'll go through that shortly. If anyone wants to actually read it, the whole thing in detail, it's available there as a PDF on that link. Okay, without any further ado, we'll get into it and go to the first article. Just give me 1 sec here to get set up. Okay. So there, this is the battery article I was talking about. Just to sum it up very briefly. So particularly LFP batteries, they look at talking about the way to get the longest life out of them. And certainly they found that operating in the lower states of charge is the best way to get the most life out of the battery. It certainly isn't going to be convenient for all, but they showed that operating from 0 to 25% is a lot better than 0 to 60, which is better than 0 to 80 and better than 0 to 100. The worst possible option is to operate in the 75 to 100% range. So if you're constantly topping up the battery, that's kind of the worst of all the options. Of course, like I said, 0 to 25 is not going to be practical in most cases. And look, most of these differences are going to be very minute anyway. So we're just looking at for people who are interested in getting the most out of the batteries and having them last as long as possible. This is the kind of what they talk about as the best way to prolong battery life. The only thing I kind of worry about with batteries, and well, not worry about, but the only thing I sort of measure I've taken is if I'm not going to be using the car for a period of time, I try to keep it as close to about 50%. I think that's a good rule of thumb. Even I've been working from home a lot lately, so I've been sort of operating in the 30 to 60% range and keeping the car there. This whole thing, people think you have to always charge LFP to 100%. That's not accurate. Tesla do recommend weekly or monthly going to 100%, depending on who you talk to. But you just need to do it from time to time, and all that is doing is just making sure that your range estimation is more accurate. The big difference between LFP batteries and the nickel metal batteries is that the curve, the voltage curve on the long range batteries is a more sort of angled curve. Whereas the LFP sort of comes up and levels off for a bit. So between say 50 to 80% will be fairly flat. So it's hard for the battery management system to estimate accurately where exactly you are in that little range. So until you actually hit 100%, then it sort of peaks up again, and that gives it a better. Well, it then knows exactly where you are, and it can start resetting its calculations. And when it works out where you might be later on, it's going to be more accurate. So, once a month is probably going to be more than enough for most people, depending on how much you use the car. If you're using it a lot, then weekly, that's great too. But this report seems to suggest once a month. And like I say, it's going to depend on how often you use it. But I wouldn't leave it sitting above 75, 80% for too long. If you're going to be using a good amount per day, then certainly charge it up to 100% weekly, and it's going to be below that 65% mark pretty well. So yeah, even I noticed my Samsung phone in the latest software actually came up with a recommendation itself saying that it recommends charging the phone battery to 80%. Same reason, it just it prolongs the life of the battery. Hey Jason, how you doing? Yeah, exactly. And same with any battery, really, but certainly, um, it's going to help prevent. It's going to help increase the life of the battery. It's not going to make massive differences, but if you want to sort of delay that degradation as much as you can, that's the way to go. And yeah, at the end of the day, do what works for you as well. You don't want to be limiting the use of the car just because you want to try and keep the battery that have that 1% extra life in the battery. But it's a balancing act of weighing up what you need. Yeah, correct. And we're talking about LFP here mainly. NMC definitely you don't want to go over 80% too often. But yeah. Yeah, hey Mark, welcome to the channel. Yeah, that's right. Phones essentially because the phone doesn't have any sort of thermal management and that kind of stuff that the cars do, then phones will suffer a lot more loss than a car will. So there's a big difference there. And absolutely, that's what I was saying before. If you're going to be storing it or just having it not be used much, I would keep it closer to that 50% mark rather than 100%. You don't want it sitting in that 80 to 100% for too long. And certainly if it's going to be stored, you don't want it sitting at 100%. Yeah, that's right. The long-range models are the NMC batteries. The short range usually LFP. Anyhow, if you're interested, that link there is for that article and has some good information there. Some good news on batteries. So another study, which was reported by Inside EVs, looked at 5,000 modern EV batteries and found that the rate of degradation has actually decreased by almost a quarter since 2019. So the newer batteries are certainly a much more reliable, as far I guess is the best word, or much more longevity in the newer batteries than they did even just a few years ago. So the average annual degradation rates for modern batteries are now just 1.8%, with the top performing vehicles being 1%. So yeah, there's a massive difference there in quality between different brands too. So your Teslas and BYDs are getting that 1% per year, which is a massive decrease from what it was 5 years ago. Yeah, I knew it was you, Jace. Yeah. Oh, nice, good stuff. I think I had those on the channel actually. Last week I showed a photo of those charging bays. All right, moving on. And our weekly Toyota news. So again, Toyota's at it. They're about to revolution the battery industry again. This is the same tech that was going to be in all their vehicles in 2017, and then 2020, and then 2022, et cetera, et cetera. So now they're saying this new technology is going to revolutionize batteries, is going to be in all their cars by 2027. Supposedly bringing out to 800-kilometer range batteries, followed shortly by 1,000-kilometer range batteries. Yeah, look, it's the same old promises that Toyota seem to go on this merry-go-round where it's a brand new battery is going to revolutionize the industry. Then it's hydrogen, then it's a new ICE engine, and just goes round and round in circles. The fact of the matter is that Toyota currently are using the oldest batteries in the industry. So they're still using nickel metal hydride batteries in their vehicles. Even the cheapest mobile phones have moved away from nickel metal hydride these days. It's just a really old technology, and I don't think any other car makers are using it. I know with their latest vehicles, they're now starting to look at getting LFP batteries through BYD. So again, for them to claim that they're going to revolutionise the battery industry when they're a good couple of generations behind, just is quite ridiculous. Yeah, that's right, Mark. It's been it's a bit of a clown show. It's been repeated. Every week there's a new Toyota invention that's going to revolutionise something that never actually sees the light of day. Yeah, so hydrogen, yes. So this was another article that just came through during the week in the Rivan. So revisiting, Scott Morrison's comments that EVs would never take off, but hydrogen was going to be a game changer. That was 3 years ago. So in those 3 years, we've now had we've had 63,000 EVs sold just so far this year versus 10 hydrogen vehicles. And none of those hydrogen vehicles went to private buyers. They're all just test vehicles. So, yeah. Worldwide, last year there were more than 14 million EVs versus 14,000 hydrogen vehicles. And I guess I suspect that a lot of those, like in Australia's example, were for experimentation and research, and very few to end users. And we know, end users in California, for example, have been suing Toyota because of all the promises that they'd be able to refuel them, and they haven't been able to. Indeed, I saw another article recently about a hydrogen-fueled train in Germany, which is dead in the water because they can't get the supply chain to be able to supply the hydrogen to the train. It's been too hard and too costly so far. So, trains you wouldn't think are a good use case for hydrogen anyway, given you can fairly easily provide electricity, as we have in Australia. To have electric trains, and there may be a bit of an upfront cost to do that, but once it's there, it's going to be massively more efficient than hydrogen, so it'll pay off pretty quickly. The only use case I can still see for hydrogen is really in shipping, but even there we've got BEV working. So yeah, it's certainly not a great vehicle, unfortunately. All right. So here we've got some stats for the US for this year. So this is the first half of this year, vehicle registrations, and we've got the Toyota RAV4 just a hair's breadth in front of the Model Y. So the RAV4 actually led the Model Y in the US last year, even though the Model Y was the top seller worldwide. But it looks like the Model Y is about to overtake it in the US for the first time. So the RAV4 dropped from 3.2% in Q1 to 2.8% for the first half of the year, while the Model Y has risen from 2.6 to 2.8 the same periods. So it's certainly catching up. There's only a fraction of a percentage between them now. So, it's 0.0 something of a percent between the two vehicles. And based on this trend, it looks like the Model Y is going to become the best-selling vehicle in the US as well. So certainly on track to repeat last year and be the best-selling car in the world. It's really remarkable also if you consider the fact that the Model Y comes in at about $45,000 US, while the RAV4 is only just over $28,000. So even with the US EV incentives, there's still a massive price difference there, and to have it overtake the Toyota is a massive feat. Right. So MG4 is recently have dropped their prices, so they're now the most affordable EV in Australia. They've got a limited time price drop to $30,990. The word in the street seems to be that they're trying to clear out inventory prior to a refresh version coming out. So certainly some bargains to be had there. And Tesla Superchargers. So we had this post by Tesla for their 100th supercharger site in Australia. There's some argument whether it is the 100th site. If you include the 4 that closed, and there was a couple of 2-stall sleds that are out there, it's technically 101, 100th, something like that. Bright, I think, just beat it. Bright might have just come in just ahead of it when this one was planned, so that's probably why. But we've got the fancy graphics there, and that's thanks to Electric Kev there, who submitted this photo to us of the 100th in action. So yeah, we've got that special livery. Hopefully we'll see more of that as we get to the more milestones. So it's the 100th site, not the 100th charger. So yeah, thanks to Kev and Electric Kev YouTube channel. Make sure to check that out if you haven't already. It's a new channel by our own Electric Kev. That's an invitation that came out for the unveil a few days ago. And some more supercharger news. And these are the 4-stall sleds that they've used quite a bit overseas. But they're a prefabricated sled that already has all the charging infrastructure on there. They just rip them out, just whack them in, cement them in, and they're ready to go. So it's a very quick process. So they've actually installed Port Augusta and Bordertown. So more love for South Australia there in very short order. So it's good to see these going in. I think this is the first time they've used them in Australia. It says here second time. So yeah, Bordertown being the first and Port Augusta being the second. But they've used them heavily overseas. And we were talking recently about the lack of Tesla superchargers in Tasmania. Someone engaged with Tesla on LinkedIn, and it appears there was an omission. So there actually is a Hobart supercharger planned, and they've identified the actual location there. So hopefully see progress in that one soon for all our Tasmanian friends. Another friend of the channel, Kylie, Mrs. G on X, shared a pic of her fabulously wrapped Tesla charging at the most northern supercharger site in Australia. This is Bowen. She's currently on a road trip. Love seeing some different colours and some of these wraps. It's a bit of variety from the stock standard colours, but she's enjoying another road trip and got this shot at the most northern supercharger site in Australia. Another of our friends, Diana, 99 Colorado on X, shared this with us. This is another example of Tesla Autopilot saving lives and saving accidents. She was driving along an Autopilot, and this black vehicle in the picture right now decided to change lanes right into her. So we'll play the video and check it out. I don't know what he was thinking. He's just decided to come straight into the vehicle, and it's automatically swerved. Not only swerved, but if you see the other side here shortly, it's managed to stay in the lane and not get in front of that truck either. So good job by the Tesla Autopilot. We've seen a lot of these now where it's been able to react faster than the driver can and avoid some really serious accidents. More news on safety front. We've had Rivan score the title of the safest pickup truck. So great news. It'll be interesting to see how the Cybertruck compares once its testing results are released. But obviously the massive advantage that EVs have over ICE vehicles in this type of collision is that there's no engine there to be pushed into the driver. The crush zones are much better because of the frunk and everything else. and the lower center of gravity means that they don't roll. So it makes a big difference there. So good to see Rivan scoring high. It'll be interesting to see, yeah, like I said, how the Cybertruck, all the reports I've seen that they had to do all sorts of crazy things to try and make it roll, and they weren't able to. So that the testing on that will be very interesting to see. Talking about Cybertruck, there's a good story on Yahoo News about a contractor in Missouri. He's been using his Cybertruck for his construction business, towing a fairly large trailer behind him, but says he's saving $65 a day just in fuel over his previous Dodge Ram, towing that same trailer. So over the year, he's saving $17,000 US, which is basically paid for his vehicle. If you factor in servicing and all that kind of stuff, their savings will be even better again. But it's a good news story there. So this one, you won't be able to read that unless you read Chinese, but this is the FSD screen on the Chinese vehicles. You'll see there that the full FSD has popped up, supervised, but it's grayed out currently. So my understanding is this just appeared with 24.26.9. There's been unconfirmed reports over the last couple of days that this option's no longer grayed out. I'm not sure if that's true or not, and I'm not sure if that means they're actually able to use full FSD there now already. But you've got 10th the 10th event coming up in just a few weeks now. And we know that Elon was visiting China just ahead of it too. So it's probably another clue that the release of the full FSD in China is very much imminent. We saw in the roadmap that they shared, we reported on the channel a couple of weeks ago, they're expecting to have FSD in China and Europe in Q1 next year. But this may be an indication it might be coming even sooner than that. So the indication was right-hand drive markets late Q1 or Q2. So if this is a indication that they're ahead of schedule, that's a great sign. Hopefully learn more in a couple of weeks' time and see what comes out of that. All right, that's the news for this week. Anyone got any comments or other bits and pieces they want to share? Okay, this one. So retrofitting a hydrogen engine to a diesel, is that what you're talking about there, Jace? No problem at all, Kev. Really appreciate your support of the channel, and you're always sitting through some good stuff. So definitely happy to shout you out and give recognition where it's due. Yeah, so I think I had a picture of that just before it got commissioned, either last week or the week before. So that's the 4 stall. I think it's one Chatamo and 3 CCS. EV networked. So that's good to see. Certainly South Australia was a little bit left out there for a while, but it certainly seems to be a lot happening there now, which is good to see. Okay, yeah, 150 kilowatts, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what the Chatamo limit is actually, but yeah, it's good at least they didn't go 2 and 2. They've gone 3 and 1. A lot of people will argue, and sort of spoken about this before, that even that's probably a bit too much. But Yeah, we've got to have some support for Chatham out there, that's for sure. Okay, yep. Good to see. Yeah, we're certainly seeing a lot of these Chinese vehicles come out now with the 800-volt architecture and some really good speeds. So it's good to see. So you've had your Model 3 now for what, 2 weeks, Kev? How's it all going, and how are you enjoying it? Anything you didn't expect, or? Yeah, I was watching there. Feel free to jump in the chat, say good day. Nice, good work. Yeah, it was pretty shortly after I got mine that I did the whole trip down to Melbourne and Adelaide, so that was a good trip, a good shakedown of the new vehicle. For those watching, definitely feel free to jump in the chat here and have a chat. Ask any questions, make any comments. We're a friendly bunch. If you've enjoyed it at all, please give us that thumbs up. Help the YouTube algorithms and help me grow the channel a little bit. Yeah, it is. It's really a game changer. As I've said in my videos, if you've seen any of my road trip videos, just having that autopilot on a very long trip is just a complete game changer as far as making things a lot less tiring and yeah, the 14-hour trip to Brisbane is certainly a lot better with autopilot than it was ever with an ICE vehicle. Yeah, I've had a few like that I wanted to try it on, and quickly found out that there's not much that can keep up with an EV, or at least Tesla. I did have a McLaren next to me on a drive, and he was driving pretty carefully. Unfortunately, I think he would have embarrassed me, but yeah, it would have been fun to give it a little with him. But no, he was a very careful driver. All right, I think we'll call it a night then. If it's no one's got any questions or anything like that. Thanks very much, Kev, Jace, Mark, for joining in on the chat. Definitely appreciated. Helps things go a little smoother and makes things a little bit more interesting if we get more engagement there. See, there's quite a few others still watching, but yeah, certainly feel free next time, jump in the chat. And if anyone wants to jump on stream and chat about any of the stuff, I'm more than happy to have you on here as well. But until next time, safe driving. Yeah, definitely. And we'll see you the same time, same channel next week. Thanks, guys.